Morning, folks. Morning. Yes, I'm here, but briefly, I did say my Sunday was a bit up in the air, so I do have another engagement to attend to, but I have a little hour or so to play with, so I thought I would jump on and see what I could cover in that time. Morning, Roxanne. Yeah, I still don't see your brooms, Roxanne. I don't know what has happened. What goes in that? But nonetheless, I know they are there in spirit, so thank you. Dina Marie Williams, morning. Donna Walcott, morning, Rena. Cyril Mayas, morning to you. Daniela Williams, morning, Ruckman. Blessed and happy Sunday to you as well. Althea, morning. Carol Boyce, J Dimples, Shah, morning, guys. Priscilla Holder, morning. Angela Abraham, Natalie F, morning. Deborah Duranty, Neil Francois, always present, morning, sir. Gabriel Philip, morning. Michelle Robinson, Ruth Trude, Kenneth Gabriel, morning. See you all on Facebook. Facebook, folks, my device is still giving some trouble, so if it cuts off, forgive me, or I might have to run across to YouTube. Yeah, I probably need to get a new device, but that will be dealt with when I travel next month. Morning, Diane. Philomena Collins, morning. Deish Rubin, morning. Patsy Edwards, Deep Pear, Ruth Franton, morning. Laverne Brown, Deborah Duranty, morning, guys. Bonnie Love, Ashlyn Robertson, morning. Alison Rogers Joseph, morning to you. So I'm seeing an Alison Rogers on YouTube and an Alison Rogers Joseph on Facebook. What is he saying? Annie Frederick, morning to you. Angie Sherry, Macaroni Tony, Pauline Buckmeyer, morning, all of you guys. Kathleen, 67289, morning. Ian Glowden, morning. Carol Myers, morning, Carol. Carol, it should be sunny by you. Yeah, later, no start. But I'm not staying on too long because, as I said earlier, I have a prior engagement. Dimitri McEwen, Phyllis Antoine, Marva James, morning. Patsy Edwards. Wanda Joseph Turpin. Right, let me just jump into it quick. Let's see something here. Yes, I see Claire Carrington is asking the program today. Yes, Claire, just started a few minutes late. Denise Reed, Claudette Jeffrey, morning. Oh, I thought so, Alison. I thought so. Jennifer Dorset, morning. Claire Iris, Janice Matthews, morning. Jacqueline Phillips, Leon Joseph, Daniel. So yeah, yesterday was the much touted Calypso Fiesta, and I must say I was very impressed with the crowd that I saw. Skinner Park was, to use the colloquial expression, ram out. Victoria Isidore, morning. Good morning to His Excellency, President of Pleasantville, Nigel O'Connor, and First Lady Marcia Kagan. Yes, so it was Baba Osei, morning. Ram out for those of you who viewed on television and those of you who made your way down to Skinner Park. So what we saw yesterday in terms of the crowd certainly put to shame or to lie the claim, well, at least made by Insha and Ishmael and others, that, persons are no longer inclined to listen to the type of songs that you get coming out of these Calypsonians from the tents. And by extension, remember the cast, the performing cast at Calypso Fiesta comes out of the tents, right? So you're telling me people they didn't want to go to the tents anymore because, the nasty rhetoric and the lyrics of the songs, people don't care for that anymore. Really? But yet still you had so many people in Skinner Park yesterday. Ram out. So many people. Wonder if John Ishmael was there. I'm sure he wasn't. Even though he's talking nonsense now about after the judgment with Crow, he now feels comfortable to go back to the Calypso tent and take in the offerings. I don't think so, You may think you're comfortable, but trust me, I'm pretty sure that if you were to go to any Calypso tent, the patrons there would ensure to make you feel very uncomfortable. You're not welcome, right? Consider yourself persona non grata. Now, you could spend your money and buy a ticket and go, but just know that your presence there would make the other patrons, very uncomfortable, unwanted. So Leave the people tent alone now. Stay in your hole in bamboo and talk your rubbish and post things on Facebook, because for a businessman, I'm amazed you have so much time on your hands to be posting things you on Facebook practically whole day. Every minute on the hour you're posting things, and you're this big businessman, right? You have nothing better to do. You have all these businesses to run. But you have time to be on Facebook every day. And more than that, you get your judgment in your favor, but you continue to post things to provoke crow. I don't understand what kind of Muslim this man is. I don't understand, because his behavior goes contrary to what we have been taught Muslims, how Muslims operate. The man is uncouth, he's obnoxious, he is, words escape me to describe his behavior, right? But yet still, let me get this here. But congratulations to those persons who were successful in making it to the big yard to come up against the reigning monarch, Josiah O'Connor. Good luck to all of you. I've in looking at social media this morning, there's been some mixed reviews as to the results. There's some people who felt other certain persons or Calypsonians should have gotten into the finals. I reserve comment on that. As a two-court judge, I have nothing to say. I have no comment to make. Yeah, so don't expect me to proffer any, because you never know. I was a Dimashq judge last year, and should that happen again this year, right? So no comment, and I leave it at that. Right? It was a well-produced show, albeit it started a bit late, but otherwise to that, I think it was well executed. Lots of good material, some of which I would have heard for the first time, and I think it augurs well for the future of Calypso. Yeah, so those are my few words on that. Right, I leave it there. So let me just get something here. Right? I don't know, should I save that anyway? If I want to talk about poor attendance at the Calypso tents, you have to understand it was a short season, very short season. And so persons weren't able to catch their breath. When you have a long season where Carnival is in late February or early March, it means that people could recover in terms of their January salary. That could enable them to be able to partake of more of the Carnival offerings. But when you have a short season where most of the fests are in early January and persons are still waiting for the 96th day of January to get paid, those persons who wait until the 96th of January to get paid, you would appreciate that funds are limited for a lot of people, those who are minded to attend these events. And so therefore, and then you have competing with the tents on the nights, you have a lot of fests. There was a time, once upon a time, when most fests would have been held Friday, Saturday, maybe Sunday. Now you have a number of events taking place during the week, right? Midweek fests. And for some people, it's difficult to understand, because you tell me you go into a fete, you coming home 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, and you have to reach to work for 10 to 8. How that working out? Well, I guess when you're a season fetter, you could do them things, right? And people going back-to-back fetes. So with limited funds, because you still had to make do, remember Christmas, money spent on Christmas and whatever was left over has to last you until the 96th of January when you get paid. You have to manage your money in such a way that you could, and then you have to pay for your costume and all them kind of thing. And yeah, so there's problems. So people say, well, yeah, what? The top 40 going to the Calypso Fiesta, I will see them there. So let me go to one event where I could see the best from all of the tents, so I don't have to be going tent hopping every night to see this one, that one, and the limited proceeds that I have, when I could go to one event. But it was well attended. I must say the stands were filled. Skinner Park, the renovated, refurbished, the new Skinner Park, thanks to this administration, looks very, very nice, accommodating, and persons seem to have enjoyed themselves. So let me get this here. Let me just switch this back here. So I was mentioning Nad Lout. So it seems now that he was successful with his lawsuit against Crow, he is now going after that station. Yeah, that station. So he posted yesterday, one would think that being a radio station owner, you would be intelligent enough to know that a disclaimer before a racist radio program does not protect you from facing the full brunt of the law. Greed, not going to save you from this one, Brett. The attack and accusations on a sitting judge will not be tolerated. Your presenters and your broadcast license is on the line now. Get ready. Coming. So that is Mr. Inshan Ishmael sending a warning to Mr. Iowa George. He's coming after his presenters as well as his broadcast license. So for those of you who, appreciate what you get from the station, it is now in jeopardy because Mr. Ishmael is now going after. It seems he's upset with the commentary of some of you all with, as regards the ruling by Justice Frank Sipasad. As he says here, the attack and accusations on a sitting judge will not be tolerated. So he's not tolerating those of you who call into the radio station and accuse Justice Sipasad of this, that, the other, and the next, based on the ruling. And he is going to stand in defense of Justice Sipasad and deal with all your case. So he's going after Mr. George's license. And also he's going after certain presenters. Namely, it appears, Juliet and Mr. Aruka. And this is based on things that he's posted before. Yeah? So, yeah. So I just thought I would put that out there. So careful what they're saying in the coming days because yeah, you might come after some earlier too. Because when you are calling, sometimes those of you who are known, the presenter might say morning so and so or morning so and so, and they calling out all your name now, and he taking copious notes and he listening to what you all are saying. So he threatening, he might come after some of you all too. So you all better watch your contents. I'm telling you. He's also going after the central bank. Says here, literally thousands of small and medium-sized businesses are being starved of US dollars while others flourish. I say no more. Let us come together and take central bank to task for allowing the mass closure of businesses to continue. Somebody tell this consummate dunce for me, please, who figured that because he has money, he bright. And they really say money don't make you, money and intelligence. Okay? The central bank would provide monies, so the commercial banks purchase US from the central bank. Understand? Central bank will just say, hey, Republic Bank, all you want some US? Come for it now. It doesn't work so, right? The commercial banks purchase foreign exchange from the central bank. When those purchases take place, the TT dollars is now available to the government to be able to use accordingly. Right? Because the main way that we get foreign exchange in this country is primarily through the energy sector. When the energy companies sell our oil and gas, that is attributable to them, the law states that they must pay at least 75% of their taxes, royalties, and other dues to the state in US dollars. They're allowed to pay up to 25% in TT dollars so that they could get TT dollars to pay things like salaries and other local expenses. But at least 75% of their dues owed to the state from their sale of our oil and natural gas must be paid in US dollars. And the central bank being the government's bank, the money will go there in the country's reserves, and then the central bank would sell to the commercial banks. The central bank cannot tell the commercial banks who to give the money to, right? It is for the commercial banks to manage what they purchase. The only control the central bank has in terms of how much they will release, because you cannot deplete the country's foreign reserves to the point where it could put us in a precarious position. Remember, foreign reserves is measured in terms of import cover, the number of months of import cover that we have, how much foreign reserves do we have to be able to satisfy our import bills in terms of necessities like food, medication, and the like, right? So they need to manage it. When the money goes to the commercial banks, it is up to them to decide who they're giving it to and in what quantities. The central bank cannot determine that. So while he wants to go after the central bank, right, because he figure he bright, what is the central bank going to do? Pull the big stick and tell the banks who to give the money to? The banks have their customers and they know the relationship that they have with their customers, and they too have a responsibility to ensure that when they sell the money, the foreign exchange to businesses, It is based on their discretion which businesses they think need it most for different things. But the bank cannot be selling foreign exchange to the point where people are hoarding. And we know the shortage of foreign exchange is in large measure due to hoarding. In large measure, right? I could tell you the insurance companies are complaining that they too. So why do you want to talk about big business? The insurance companies need foreign exchange to pay their reinsurance. Because when you insure your house, your car, yourself, whatever it is, your policies are reinsured overseas by companies such as Swiss Re, Lloyd's of London, and the like. And these premiums have to be paid in US dollars. And even the insurance companies are complaining they are not getting money, enough US, to even satisfy these bills. And so some of these companies, as I was talking to a client of mine recently who is the CEO of one of these companies, she was telling me that the challenge that they face, well, they have been able to deal with the challenge because they are Jamaican owned, and therefore the Jamaica side of the operations is satisfying or paying the bills for them, right? But again, him going after the central bank don't make sense. But if his lawyer is telling him, yeah, you go ahead. So I see his lawyer is also Jack Warner's lawyer. And I see there was a recent Supreme Court, US Supreme Court ruling, which Mr. Warner claims vindicates him, and basically he says the nightmare is over. But we don't have time to talk about that today. We will deal with that on another day, right? But again, let me get this here. Mr. Ishmael, I don't want to focus too much on him. So it seems, I see he put out a post that says, I'm going to drive a 350 SEL Benz. Crocro to pay up after court ruling will now sing, jump, and wave. We ain't going to talk about it. Let me get this here. Right. Look at this. Where is it? Where is it?
All right, here we go.
Mm-hmm. He says, for years, they're promising to boycott my businesses, and every time they plan to boycott, my sales increase. Let us show how we just roll. Come out in your numbers, in your hundreds. Brilliant Baraka grams. Right? And ribeye steak with two sides, $125. Premium lamb and rosemary sauce, $100. That's 10% off everything else on the menu. We're celebrating victory. And then he posted up a screenshot of someone who was calling for the boycott of his business. But again, as I pointed out to you all, did I screenshot that? Let me see. So we don't have to go back and find it. No, I did not. Just give me 1 sec. Let me pull up this thing here. Just as a reminder, I don't really want to go too much into that today because, yeah. Just get this here. So, right, let me just remind you all again, right? In relation, and this is 173 of the judgment, it says here, in relation to the impact which the defamatory words had upon the claimant, he outlined at paragraphs 19, 25, 27, and 38 of his witness statement as follows. All of the businesses immediately took a nosedive, and my community events had fewer people. I also noticed I was asked to attend fewer community events and make fewer appearances at religious gatherings. For example, I would usually lead prayer on Fridays, but immediately after the song and the public statements mentioned above, the Imam stopped asking me to. Now, if you make that claim, right, I would have called the Imam as a witness to be cross-examined. But that's just me, I ain't no lawyer. So that the Imam could testify to what Mr. Ishmael is saying. That the reason why he stopped asking him to lead prayers was because of Crocro's song. He said that, right? But I see nothing here to say that the court heard from the Imam. So that is just hearsay. And it is point to note that I'm sure that this witness statement would have been drafted by his attorney, who on Wednesday night on the program, he was telling, he's the type of person he would like to see representing a constituency like St. Augustine or Shogunas or whatever. Well, they start off on a bad foot, my friend. I continue. After these interviews, and he's talking about the interview I think that Crocro did on the station that he's now going after, whose license and presenters he's now going after. After these interviews, I saw another drop in sales at my business, this time with Brilliant, which is near to the Diwali Nagar, and ROC, which is located in Bamboo Village. So we're supposed to believe that after Kroko did an interview on, because Kroko didn't do too many interviews on mainstream radio, right? So I think he may, I'm not sure, I stand to be corrected, he may have done an interview on 995 and he did on 102 on 91.9. So Ishmael would have us believe that apparently the whole of Trinidad and Tobago listens to those two stations only. Yeah, so they heard, everybody in Trinidad heard these interviews and was so incensed, and they were in support of Kroko because they were inclined to believe Kroko over him. That's what you're trying to tell you here. Yeah. So Kroko goes on an interview and he says certain things about you, and it should be of concern to you that people would be more inclined to listen to Kroko and take what Kroko say over what you say. What does that tell you? How do people view you and your character, sir? Right? Clearly not in high esteem. And so much so that people decided we're not going to support any of his businesses. I go on. He says, after these interviews, I saw another drop in sales at my businesses, this time with Brilliant, which is near to the Diwali Nagar, and ROC. ROC, which he claimed he was closing down in 2021 because he wasn't getting US to bring in parts and other things, and it didn't make sense, and therefore he was closing down his business. And in fact, he would have put up several advertisements on his Facebook page announcing a closing down sale, going out of business sale. But you're coming to say now, in 2023, that sales at ROC, which was supposed to have closed down since 2021, dropped significantly. He goes on, which is located in Bamboo Village. The drop, I estimate, has been in the vicinity of at least $100,000 per month. So you're making over $100 and something thousand a month with Brilliant and ROC. All right. I attempted to retain a chartered accountant to prepare a financial report, which I intended to annex to these proceedings as proof of this loss, but I could not. Everyone I visited said they could not be associated with this case because of the racial undertones created by the first defendant. So you couldn't find anybody you couldn't find any chartered accountants who never heard Kroko's song. You couldn't find any chartered accountants who had no idea what was going on between you and Kroko. And had it not been for you battling this issue on Facebook and drawing attention to yourself, to Kroko and the whole matter, most of Trinidad and Tobago would not have known or cared to know, right? You brought it into the public domain by doing lives, posting things on Facebook, and making sure that it became a topical issue. People talking about it on the radio and social media and all of that. You did that in John Ishmael. Kroko didn't do that, right? If you didn't make an issue of it and you're going and sue, you could have just hushed him out and that would have blown over. That would have blown over. But if it is that people were calling for boycott, it's because you come to say you're going and sue Kroko and they're going and take out everything Kroko have. And anyway. But he would have us believe no chartered accountant wanted to do his book so he could prove that he lost about $100,000 a month. I don't know how any chartered accountant could prove that, because they could simply look at the numbers and say, well, okay, we are seeing losses, but we cannot state that these losses were attributable to a song that a Calypsonian sang. We cannot say that. He could make that inference, but we can't say that because there may have been other things. We don't know if maybe somebody went by his place, buy her food, and end up with food poisoning or something, and then maybe, he's saying that. But I continue. He said everyone I visited said they could not be associated with this case because of the racial undertones created by the first defendant. Again, if the court really wanted to deliver justice, I would have asked for the names of everybody who you visited, who you say you visited, and let us interrogate them. Let them come here and confirm what you say. Otherwise, it's just hearsay. You just saying things. But how do we know that is true? But the court was not inclined to verify anything that seemingly Mr. Ishmael said with respect to the losses he suffered. He goes on. As justification for this statement, I got an email from one of the chartered accountants and the internal account for IBM. However, I have decided not to annex it because it will have their names, and I do not want their businesses to also fall prey to any attacks by the first defendant. So he said one of the accounting firms that he asked to do his books to show losses, right? Now at the end of the day, you could do anything. I mean, people could come to your restaurant to buy food, and in an attempt to show losses, instead of running it through the cash register or whatever it is, you just say accepting cash. People come to buy food, they hand you the money. They know that's the cost. Most people look here to get a bill. So how do we even know that all of the funds or monies received from your businesses was in fact recorded? How do we know that? We're taking your word for it. You know, sometimes you go to these business places and to avoid having to pay VAT and all of these different things and taxes, some of them, they would tell you, well, if you're paying cash, you will get a discount. So paying cash and you get a 10% discount, and then they give you a handwritten bill. Then going to the cash register, give you a handwritten bill, telling you, pay in cash. So there is no record to show. Don't pay by card, because if it pays by card, it has to go into the bank account and it's recorded that a sale was made. These are the underhanded things that some of these people do in order to deprive the state of taxes. I'm not saying that's what he did, I'm saying. They said they would lose business if they did the report. Really? Most people have no clue as to what went on in that courtroom, right? We have not seen any documents. Any documents, even except for the judgment, we have not seen anything else. So for him to come and say he didn't annex the email that he got, well, there's something called redacting, sir. Redact. That's all. Take a marker. Take out the name. I mean, you said it's an email, right? Take out the person's name, and we could see. But most people in CE, we don't know. We haven't seen any of the documents that have been presented. And if it is you didn't decide to fight this thing in the public domain, there would be no need for any document that you got from anybody. This is a matter between you and Crocro. This is not a matter between you, Crocro, and the rest of Trinidad and Tobago. But aside from getting financial restitution from Crocro, you also wanted to make an example of the man and to humiliate him. Hence the reason you continue to post things on your Facebook page to aggravate him. But he don't have time to study you. He don't have no time for you. But anyway, he goes on. Right. He says that I have decided not to annex it because it will have their names and I do not want their businesses to also fall prey to any attacks by the first defendant. So he's claiming that after the court matter, that Crocro would then go and sing a song about whoever did your books for you. Really? Around this time, the public started making memes of me, referring to me as the same person as Imchan Imchel. Additionally, I observed the close similarity between this name and mine. Phonetically, they are almost the same as well. The names even share similarity in most of the letters. I believe other members of the public also noticed this, prompted the memes. I have secured examples of these memes to attach, but there were many more. The song, the interviews, and the public statements have served as a clarion call to boycott all of my businesses as well as any business I associate with. Let me repeat that. The song, the interviews, and the public statements have served as a clarion call to boycott all of my businesses as well as any business I associate with. The effect is that even new companies that I wish to do business with shy away from me. When I try to advertise car parts for sale on even my personal social media account, I am called a racist. And this happened as recently as the 11th of March, 2023. This is what the court had to say. The aforementioned aspects of the claimant's evidence were not challenged during cross-examination, which may have been a feeling on the part of defense attorneys. For whatever reason, they didn't challenge him. And the court has no basis upon which it could reject the claimant's evidence that he actually suffered financial loss, nor can the court dispute the damage to his reputation was actually occasioned. Yes, the court didn't need to challenge. All the court had to do was to please provide us with documentary evidence or something to prove what you're saying. But the court wasn't inclined to do that. This court had the benefit of seeing and hearing the claimant and formed the view that his evidence was plausible and not contrived. Really? This court has the benefit of seeing and hearing the claimant, Ishmael, and formed the view that his evidence was plausible and not contrived. As a consequence, the court finds as fact that the claimant did sustain financial loss and that damage was inflicted upon his reputation. The claimant, however, failed to discharge the evidential obligation to establish the actual quantum of loss sustained. So the court accepts that he lost money. The only thing is that he failed to discharge the evidential obligation. So the court is saying there was an obligation on his part to provide us with the proof that he lost $100,000, his businesses lost at least $100,000 a month, and he couldn't do that. It is, as pointed out earlier, it is likely that some persons who heard the Calypso would have formed the view that the claimant was a thief or dishonest. So it's only because of Crocro's song they would have formed that. This whole song, so many things, the focus was on, and you're telling me one line, that one line would have stood out in that whole song, out of everything else that was said. One line would have stood out, and people all of a sudden think Ishmael is a car parts thief because Crocro singing it in a song. But in the same testimony, the man said that for years, that people of Bamboo, we have been seen as being car thieves, dishonest businessmen for years. So it wasn't long before Crocro sang this song that was the view that was held. And this individual is one of the most prominent businessmen in Bamboo. Right? But anyway, but he's standing up for the judge. Eh? He's defending the judge. He will not tolerate any attack on justice, Sipasag. All you have pass on out of place with all yourself and you deal with all your for that. Anyway. Right. So the court goes on to say it is likely some persons who heard the Calypso would have formed the view that the claimant was a thief or dishonest. Such an accusation is offensive, and it would by necessity lead to an implication that the claimant's reputation was likely lowered in the eyes of a substantial number of people within the society because of one line in a song. So all the other things that Crocro sang about, the implication that he may have been a reason, that didn't affect. Although the claimant's businesses are separate legal persons, there is no dispute that he owns the identified companies. There is a fallacy presented by incorporation as it creates a legal separation, although the company may be effectively controlled by the owner of the issued shares. Companies may also operate in a space where its customers are aware of the identity of the actual owner and readily associate the owner as the alter ego of the company. The court going to great lengths to defend. Anyway, this manner of association may be heightened in small communities such as the Bamboo, and given the claimant's advocacy, his social media presence, and the charitable causes which he supports, it is plausible to conclude that many persons would likely view the claimant and the companies which he owns interchangeably. The need for compensation and vindication of reputation must remain the focal point of the court's concern, and the court is also mindful of the fact that this judgment and the strong condemnation which have been directed at the first defendant have the potential to assist in the re-establishment of the claimant's reputation. So the court is saying, in order to restore Ishmael's reputation, Crocro must be strongly condemned. And we had to impose a fine on him too. Right? And because we condemn him and we impose this fine, people will say, well, right, yeah, okay. Ishmael is now a good guy. Crocro was wrong. As a consequence, the court harbors no doubt that the first defendant, Crocro, exceeded the remit and latitude afforded by the ability to engage fair comment, and finds as fact that the first defendant was actuated by malice as he was calculating and had a clear intent to occasion hurt to the claimant's feelings, cause him distress, and to effect injury to his reputation. As a consequence, the claimant, Ishmael, is entitled to an award which compensates and vindicates him and reestablishes his reputation, mindful that the evidence suggests that the claimant, notwithstanding the financial loss which he likely sustained, as a consequence of the defamation, continues to thrive as he still has the capacity to continue his charitable causes. The court has also noted that the claimant, Ishmael, has managed to maintain social and mainstream media attention. But yet still, his reputation was damaged, but he didn't see any decline in the number of followers. He said he has over 200,000 followers. How many people said, nah, boy, you see that song Crocro sing there? Inshan is a thief. Yeah, boy. Inchan dishonest. Let me unfollow him. There was no decline, but his reputation suffered, right? But none of his followers stopped following him. In fact, his following probably grew. But the court then asked him to prove that. Having reviewed all the evidence, the court holds the view that the publication of the Calypso was extensive and by no means fleeting. The court also considered the full text of the Calypso, the comments which catalyzed it, as well as the positions adopted by the first defendant after his performance. And the court further noted the aggravating factors such as the first defendant's failure to issue an apology, the malice which was reflected in the Calypso, the pellucid desire to teach the claimant a lesson, the various interviews which the first defendant gave, and his attempts to reap financial rewards by holding a concert shortly after the claimant took issue with the Calypso. In these circumstances, it is the view of the court that the appropriate quantum of general damages, inclusive of an uplift for aggravated damages, which should be paid to the claimant, is the sum of $215,000. The final issue with which the court must address is whether an award for exemplary damages should be made and considered private level. Right. First defendant is no ordinary Calypsonian, blah, blah. The court is... Okay, so the court made a further. In the circumstances, the award of exemplary damages is required, and the first defendant must pay the claimant an additional $35,000. Croker also had to pay costs calculated on a prescribed cost basis, having regard to the quantum hereby awarded. So, aside from the $250,000, the court will determine what costs it will award. So he had to pay. Croker will have to pay Mr. Ishmael's lawyers. But yet still, in the face of this, where the court is saying, well, we have no doubt that the man lost money, we can't dispute that. The only thing we're saying is that he did not satisfy or provide evidence to show that he did in fact lose over $100,000 a month. But the court accepts that he lost money, right? But this same man who made this claim in his witness statement is now on social media and on his live television program stating that the same boycott that he claimed in his witness statement cost him and cost his business, well, rather the clarion call to boycott, cost his business over $100,000 a month. Came on his television program the other night and said the more they call for boycott is the more the business come. So let's keep calling for boycott. And now he has a boycott sale going on at his brilliant restaurant. And then he goes on to, let me just get it here. I don't want to misquote it. I have got close on thing, but I don't have got time. Let me get this here. Right. It seems like he liked to be in the, he says here, my apologies to those who were unable to get our ribeye special yesterday as stocks ran out at around 9 p.m. Please be advised that we are currently restocking for today and tomorrow. If you have friends visiting, pass through. Due to the public being asked by P&M sycophants to boycott my business, and he put that in bold, hundreds showed up last night in full support. So he's telling us now the boycott calls is actually driving traffic to his business. He's making more money as a result of the boycott calls. But you tell the court that last year the boycott calls cost you over $100,000 in business. But today, the same boycott calls earning you plenty money, and you're calling, all you keep boycott, keep calling for boycott, keep calling for boycott. Because the more you call for it, the more money you're making. So were you lying in your witness statement, or are you lying now, Mr. Ishmael? I wonder if Francie Prasad is aware of these things. I don't know, right? I'm just saying, Croker and they need to take screenshots of these things. So if they decide to appeal, under cross-examination, I would ask him these very same questions. Did you not say on your television program, a couple days after the judgment came out, that the boycott calls actually drove business, improved your business, contrary to what you stated in your witness statement, that the boycott calls cost you $100,000 a month or more in business? So which is it, Mr. Ishmael? But he's defending Justice Super sad. But I take note. But the only thing, even the newspaper that reported on this, nobody ain't talking about the rebuke that he got, Ishmael got from the very same judge, right? For the statements that he made. on his program with respect to Kareem Marcel, and by extension, the disparaging remarks that he made about the people in Betham. So, and this is the thing that the kicker, yeah? So the court awarded him money because Kroko called him it made the implication that he's a car parts thief. And therefore that damaged his reputation. But the same individual on his television program, which resulted in Kroko penning this song, accused the people of the residents of Betham of the very same thing. That they come and they pelt down people's cars, and then they steal parts of the people's cars and whatnot, and all of these different things. So the court awarded him money because the same allegation was made against him, and then he came and made the same allegation against the residents of Betham. Yeah? So apparently he have evidence that the residents of Betham are car parts thieves and criminals. Maybe they should consider a class action suit against him. All the residents should come together and sue him. You prove that that is thieves living here. You reference the residents of Betham, well, you prove that. Because it has damaged our reputation. So they can say, well, here what now? Taxis no longer want to come into Betham because you said that when vehicles passing, or they coming in here, that we stone them down and steal. So prove it. Reputational, our businesses in the area are suffering. Well, they should do that. Sue him backside and let him answer. Anyway. So, let's see how much time I still have there. Wow, time really does fly. So the Prime Minister had a press conference on Friday, was it? I think it was Friday. Yeah, it was Friday. Where he had to address the issue of the Dragon gas deal. I have never seen a bunch of people who want to come back into office to lead Trinidad and Tobago, to hold power in this country, could fight down, literally fight down, something that could benefit this country for at least 30 years. So I saw Jayanti Lakshmidiyal, who recently got married. Congratulations to her. See, they say she married a little boy, but anyway, that's not my business. Let me see here. She was the one who brought the motion to the Senate recently to compel the government to provide quarterly reports on the Dragon gas deal, right? And it ended in a tie. The 15 government senators, thank God, everybody showed up that day. 15 government senators, and the 15 senators on the opposition side. So it's 6 on the opposition, 9 independent. So the independent joined with the opposition, and all 15 of them voted in favor of the motion. The 15 on the government bench voted against the motion. And so the president of the Senate, Nigel de Freitas, had to cast the deciding vote. And of course, he voted with the government. So the motion was not carried. But they come and they give a whole set of diatribe about why it is the government needs to provide information every quarter on what is happening with the Dragon gas deal. But it's not out of genuine concern, it's mischief. They can't deal with when it is they don't have information, they don't know what's going on, because they're concerned about the effect and the impact that the Dragon gas deal and its success can have on the 2025 general election. So they want to ensure that they could get the information readily as to how it is progressing so that they could attack it when they feel necessary. So if it is they see significant progress is being made, we need to make this an issue. We need to find ways to pelt boulders at this because this cannot go through, at least until after the next general election. Right? So we understand their motive. It's not genuine. Bunch of frauds. But thank goodness the motion was defeated, and so they didn't get their way. But the same Senator Jayanti Lakshmidiyal, and the only thing that amazes me, she put out 4 days ago a statement by the US State Department, is it? She said last week in the Senate, the government refused to support a call by the opposition and independent bench for more information regarding the Dragon gas deal. In fact, the government defeated the motion with a tiebreaker vote. Today, almost all of the concerns raised by the opposition have proven to be valid. The dragon is dead before it can dance. This is her characterization. Actions by Nicolas Maduro, and she's quoting here a statement from one Matthew Miller from the US State Department, which says, actions by Nicolas Maduro and his representatives in Venezuela, including the arrest of members of the democratic opposition and the barring of candidates from competing in this year's presidential election are inconsistent with the agreement signed in Barbados last October by representatives of Nicolas Maduro and the Unitary Platform. In support of the Barbados Agreement, the US issued General License 44, which provides relief to Venezuela's oil and gas sector. Absent progress between Maduro and his representatives and the opposition Unitary Platform, particularly on allowing all presidential candidates to compete in this year's election, the United States will not renew the license when it expires on April 18, 2024. So they're saying absent progress between Maduro and his representatives. Absent progress, right? That doesn't mean that a definitive decision has been taken to not renew the license. It means absent progress. So between now and April 18, 2024, when this license is supposed to expire, if there is no progress, we will allow it to expire and it will not be renewed. That's what they say. So there is still a window of opportunity for Mr. Maduro and his allies to do the needful, do what needs to be done and adhere and abide by the agreements in Barbados. And we have seen that Mr. Maduro is not a hardliner, and that based on what took place in was it St. Vincent, between himself and Irfan Ali with respect to the border dispute between Venezuela and Guyana, when everybody thought that Mr. Maduro was going to come there, or that he wasn't going to show up first, but he agreed, and then he came, and the concessions that he made was out of step with what everybody thought. In fact, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Amory Brown, said that the outcome was better than what they expected. They weren't expecting Mr. Maduro to come there and to concede, but he did. So it means that Mr. Maduro could very well, we could see an about turn over the course of the next couple of months that could result. But in any event, the expiration of License 44 does not impact Trinidad and Tobago and the Dragon Gas deal, as stated by Minister Young. Mr. Young said this months ago, but these dishonest bastards still decided to put into the public domain misinformation when they know full well that the Dragon Gas deal does not fall under, or at least they should have known, is not governed by License 44. It is a separate license, and again, I stress the point. Minister Young made this point lucidly clear on more than one occasion in the past. But let me just pull it up again, just to remind you of what Mr. Young said, for those who may have missed it. Energy Minister Stuart Young had previously explained that the Office of Foreign Assets Control license granted to Trinidad and Tobago's government is specific and separate to the general license that was issued by OFAC on October 18, 2023, relating to Venezuela that expires on April 18, 2024. He said the general OFAC license number 44 does not affect the work being undertaken by the governments of Venezuela and TNT to produce and export the gas from the Dragon Gas field to Trinidad and Tobago. Venezuelan ambassador to Trinidad and Tobago, Alvaro Enrique Sanchez Cordero, told the Express yesterday that unlike other OFAC licenses, the OFAC Dragon license stands for 2 years. Now you're telling me that the UNC didn't know that? You think they didn't know that? Because they know how to go and dig up in people's personal submissions and personal declarations in the Integrity Commission to give you information. Yes? The political leader put out something about cartel, the Colombian cartel, and who not being involved. Let me get it here. Let me quote her properly. Yeah? Yes. And she put it up bold 2 hours ago. Kamla Persuad Bisesa. Colombian cartels working with local gangs and some businessmen. Which businessmen? I wonder, any of them aligned with the UNC? Mrs. Persuad Bisesa? She said eventually there will be a war for turf against local gangs, leading to increased bloodshed and violence, as is being seen in Ecuador. This is only going to get worse if the government continues to take no action. So she know Colombian cartels working here. They have intel to know that. But you couldn't do the same research because remember, they have the best lawyers in Trinidad and Tobago and the best research people. You could go and dig up and do research to see Colombian cartels working here and you know businessmen involved and who businessmen. But you couldn't do research to get a simple explanation with respect to the license 44 and the license that was provided for the Dragon Gas to know it's two separate. They know everything else, but they didn't know that. They couldn't explain that. But they know. They put that deliberately into the public domain, knowing that all of their clueless, low IQ supporters would go and run on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and wherever else, what other social media platform, to put out misinformation. And they have the following. They know that the likes of Professor Clueless, right? Captain Clueless and Professor Misinformation on that radio station would come and talk rubbish and push nonsense despite the Prime Minister's explanation. They still come in to talk about, well, we put all the economic eggs in one basket, and now look at what the country facing. But the same ones who complaining now about, oh, the dragon gas deal might fall through, and this rowdy government and whatnot, and look what we do. A couple months ago, when the UNC was telling the government, hey, what now? You see this dispute between Guyana and Venezuela? You all need to stand with Guyana and abandon the dragon gas deal. That's what they were saying. We need to stand in solidarity with our CARICOM neighbor Guyana, and therefore we are urging the government to reconsider the dragon gas deal, to abandon it altogether. All of them who concerned now about who the dragon gas deal going and fall through, and Rowley and Wade doing, and Maduro, and they can't trust Maduro and all of that. Where were you all 2 months ago when the UNC was telling the government to abandon the dragon gas deal? You all weren't concerned then. You weren't concerned about, oh God, what the dragon gas deal was going to happen. No, you had nothing to say. Quiet. But now, they come and put the propaganda in the public domain, giving the impression that the dragon gas matter falls under License 44, and all of the minions and Zandoli come out from the hole, and all of them are experts. Half of them probably don't even know how to change a cooking gas tank, but know plenty about dragon gas and the energy industry, and want to do live on social media, on TikTok and whatnot, and talking a pack of nonsense. And even in the face of the Prime Minister coming out, the Minister of Energy coming and telling you all, this is what it is. The Prime Minister just came from Washington. He sat with the only high official that he didn't meet with was the president. But he met with the vice president, who herself put out a picture with her and Dr. Rowley on her Instagram page, expressing how happy she was to meet with Dr. Rowley again. Right? So they have a good relationship. And of course, Dr. Rowley would have raised this issue with them for reinforcement from the US authorities. That listen, this has come out. There is a concern in Trinidad and Tobago as to this matter. We just need confirmation from you all, reinforcement, that this expiration of License 44 does not affect the dragon gas. And that was reinforced. In fact, just remember that in January last year, the US government would have given us a 2-year license, original, which was supposed to start, which started in January. And then further to that, they came in October and told us, look, based on the progress that has been made with respect to this, we are issuing another license, a newer license, which would come into effect from the 31st of October. So Trinidad and Tobago and the government of Trinidad and Tobago got a whole 10 months blind. We get a lining up of 10 months to negotiate this dragon gas deal with Venezuela. And much of the negotiations that needed to take place took place in that 10 months lining up. So the 2 years that we got from October, right? All of the heavy lifting, the majority of the heavy lifting was done during the lining up period. But you see, the UNC was thinking, 2 years, they can't do nothing in that 2 years now. It's going to take them at least 5 years to negotiate. They weren't expecting it to be done in less than 10 months, but it was. So now they end up in problems because the timeline that they were anticipating, they were seeing this thing protracting well beyond 2025 general election. And the fact that this government worked hard and assiduously with Cho Chong, as Dr. Rowley said, doing shuttle work from Port of Spain to Washington to Venezuela to Port of Spain, Washington, Venezuela, all the time to make this thing happen. And they weren't expecting it to happen so quickly, and it did. They vexed. They know how to respond. So finding all kind of ways now to try and pour, as they say, sand in the rice, to scuttle something that could benefit Trinidad and Tobago, that we were able to secure a 30-year license. It is quite likely that in 30 years, Maduro might be dead, Kamala might be dead, Dr. Rowley might be dead, because Dr. Rowley will be 70, 74, be 75 this year, I think. So 30 years from now, when that license expires, he will be 105. If he's still alive. Certainly he'll be out of the politics. Posabi Sessa would be about 102, 103. So quite likely she would not be, probably wouldn't be around either. So here it is that this administration is putting something in place that will benefit the citizens of this country long after they have left the politics. Long after. When they're pushing up daisies, or would have, depending on how their bodies are disposed of, would have blown as dust in the wind a long time. And you have these people who are telling you, we are the answer to good governance in Trinidad and Tobago. Put us back. But you all trying to scuttle this thing, knowing full well that if you come into office, Maduro don't want nothing to do with it. Especially since you all continue to malign the man and his government. Whether or not there may be reasons so to do. But the fact of the matter is, this government continues to tread lightly. And Dr. Rowley says, we are not taking sides. If he had taken sides as the opposition had wanted him to do a few years ago, and had sided with Juan Guaido when Trump was in office, there would have been no drug and gas deal today, no 30-year license. Because Maduro would have wanted to have nothing to do with Keith Rowley and his government, who would have supported a potential coup to oust Mr. Maduro. But as the Prime Minister said at that time, whoever answers the phone in Miraflores is who I acknowledge and recognize as president. And until such time as Juan Guaido is the occupant of Miraflores, I acknowledge Nicolas Maduro as the president of Venezuela. And that decision has served us well and served in good stead, such that today we have a 30-year license for the drug and gas deal. But the opposition, who telling they're the alternative, the government in waiting, Kamla Persad-Bissessar, who's the prime minister in waiting, all they're trying to do is to come up with ways and means to sow seeds of doubt in the minds of the citizens. And worse yet, since Dr. Rowley has indicated a possible intention to move on by 2025, they realize, well, a lot of the hatred towards the PNM is because people don't like Dr. Rowley because they find he too rough around the edges and he too bullish, like that. So we want to, and if it is he goes, that could probably get votes for the party. So we need to find some way to mess up something. And so that's why they come in and attacking the crime and crime. Point to note that January, right, total number of murders recorded for January was, I saw 41 murders. For January 2024, down 20 murders from January 2023 when it was 61, right? So I think as at this date, last year, we were on about 68 murders for the year. We're right now in about 43 or 44. So we are well below where we were last year. Well below, right? At one point in time, we were looking at the number of murders being well beyond the number of days. But that gap seems to have narrowed. But all who concerned about crime, they ain't talking that. Where Gary to talk about that? To praise Ula. Well, I saw in today's Guardian, they carried a story which shows, significant declines. In fact, when they compare certain commissioners and their first year in office, Gary, Ula, Stephen Williams, Philbert, and the others, and they look at the performance, Ula beating them going and coming. She did much better than Gary. Let me give you some statistics here. Number of murders from lowest to highest, the rankings, based on statistics for the first full calendar year of all 7 police commissioners since 2004. Number of murders, Dwayne Gibbs, 2011, first year in office, 352 murders. Trevor Paul, 2005, 386 murders. Stephen Williams, 2013, 408 murders. Gary Griffith, 2019, 539 murders in the first year. Ula Harewood Christopher, 576, and McDonald Jacob, 605. Murder detection rate, Trevor Paul, 24.4%. Dwayne Gibbs, 22.4%. Stephen Williams, 15.2%. Ula Harewood Christopher, 14.6%. James Philbert, 13.2%. McDonald Jacob, 13%. And last, coming in last place with the lowest detection rate in his first year in office, Gary Griffith, 12.9%. I ain't see he put out nothing yet on his Facebook page to challenge these results. We're going again. Number of burglaries, break-ins. Lowest number of offenses ranks the highest. Ula Harewood Christopher, in her first year in office, 1,633 burglaries, break-ins. McDonald Jacob, 1,733. Gary Griffith, 2,217. Stephen Williams, 2,967. Dwayne Gibbs, 4,220. Trevor Paul, 4,582. And James Philbert, 4,855. We're going again. Burglaries, break-in detection rate. McDonald Jacob, 20%. First place. Second place, Ula Harewood Christopher, 18.3%. Third place, Gary Griffith, 15%. But he loved to beat his chest He was the best thing since sliced bread, the best commissioner we ever had, and the best figures. We're going again. Number of robberies. First year in office. McDonald Jacob, there were 2,516. Euler Herod Christopher in second place, 2,588. Stephen Williams, 2,958. In fourth place, Gary Griffith, 3,018 robberies in his first year in office. We're going again. Robbery detection rates. Euler Herod Christopher, 19.1%. McDonald Jacob, 19%. Trevor Paul, 18.7%. In fourth place, Gary Griffith, 17.3%. We're going again. Total serious crimes. Lowest number of offenses, ranks highest. Euler Herod Christopher in her first year, 12,678 total serious crimes. McDonald Jacob, 12,802 serious crimes. Stephen Williams, 13,147 serious crimes. Gary Griffith in fourth place, 13,179 serious crimes. Right? Worse than Euler. Serious crime detection rates, McDonald Jacob, 31.8%. Euler Herod Christopher, 30.3%. And in third place, Gary Griffith, 30.2%. So outside of the total number of murders in the first year, Euler Herod Christopher has beaten Gary Griffith in every other rubric. Every other rubric she did better than him in her first year as commissioner as compared to his first year. But he beat NHS. He was the best thing. Yeah, bring back Gary. We want back Gary. You feel he going to talk about this? No, instead he decided to put out a post to malign and bad talk the Prime Minister. Address this. I'm sure you saw it. But none. To try and deflect from that, he put out a post talking about the confidence that the Prime Minister had in him before, and the Prime Minister, I don't even have time. I'm not even going to play it for you. Right? But he ain't going to talk about that. He wouldn't address that. And even if he does, bet your bottom dollar, he will find some way to skew it. Right? So now he's going to have his own crime talk separate and apart from what the UNC is going to have. But I read for you all a couple of days ago, the jab that he felt based on his release, the jab he felt at the UNC with respect to their crime talks. It's just a talk shop for people to come and cry and talk about how crime impacted them personally and whatnot, but no solutions. And in the absence of solutions, you know what Kamla saying? Well, our crime talks are really intended to hear what the people have to say. So we just want to listen to what the people have to say and give them an opportunity to speak. But they have no solutions. You cannot have solutions when you have persons who are holding high office in your party are currently either the subjects of police investigation, are out on bail, right, or are of interest to the police. You can't come and talk to me about crime. Cannot. What solutions can you offer when it is that the only thing that you have to say when members of your party are accused and find themselves before the court is PNM again? PNM at its best. PNM propaganda. The PNM set them up, right? So the councillor from Grandy, the PNM set him up. The PNM set him up to take a bribe for $15,000. The former chairman of the Mayaro Regional Corporation, who was also charged for soliciting bribe, the PNM do that too. First thing David Lee said when he walked out from the offices of I think it's the FIB or whatever, and the media looking to get to ask him a question. First thing come out his mouth. PNM at its best. PNM at its best. Though the evidence that the police gathered showed you do your thing, that had nothing to do with the PNM. And the DPP is the one who gave instructions to charge. So the same DPP who they defended, and the DPP is being attacked by this government and whatnot, is the same DPP. So when you all come and make claims that is the PNM at its best, you are insulting the integrity and impugning the integrity of the same DPP that you are trying to defend. Because he has to give instructions to charge you all. So when you say that is PNM thing, and is the PNM responsible, you're saying that the DPP is in cahoots with the government and the PNM to charge you all. Pick a struggle. As Gary does say, you can't be half pregnant. Pick a struggle. It's either you're supporting the DPP or you're not. It can't be that the same DPP good today and then tomorrow he's not good. But this is what they put in out there, right? And they have the minions who come in on social media and all of a sudden they are experts in everything. experts in everything, and using radio time. Which is why I'm being honest with you, right? I'm not feeling sorry for the owner of that station. Let's just say that. He opened the doorway for that, right? So, but I'm sure Mr. Ishmael is probably pleased with what he hears from 4 to 7 p.m. He's probably pleased with that. So I'm sure he has no issue with that. Those two guys, yeah, they're not racist or anything like that. No, them talking sense. They're talking sense. But yet still, here it is that you have this man is now coming after this radio station that they work for. He's coming after the license for the radio station that they work for, which would mean he coming to take their dust, as they say. Because if the license is revoked, well, they're no pay to get because there's no program to carry on. But you feel they will go after him? No, they go praise him. Yeah, you do a good thing there. Coco need to learn a lesson. Well, I hope when he come for the owner of your station, your boss and your colleagues, well, they must sing the same tune and say, yeah, man, he doing the right thing. He doing the right thing. They wouldn't stand up to him and tell him where to take a ride. They wouldn't stand up to him and tell him to put that lawsuit where the monkey put the nuts. No, they're defending him in the face of what he did with Crow. Yeah? Because Crow is a PNM and he's a sycophant. But he coming for all your work. He said it. It is on his Facebook page. He coming for all your work. Give him an applause for that. Give him an applause for that. Praise him. Well, you go on the program tomorrow and talk him up and big him up and say, yes, Inshan coming after the radio license. He going after we boss. And we think that is a good thing. He's coming after our colleagues and we think that is a good thing. And we want to encourage him to continue to do that. Why don't they do that? Why don't they do that? They ain't gonna do that. Bunch of jokers. You see? Go around past the time. There was one other thing I wanted to touch on. Where is it? I feel I will leave that for Tuesday. Just to mention, I saw in the Express on Friday, Ula unplugs Roger. Beyond the Tape host removed from TV show, Alexander calls on Senator Richards to apologize for giving gangs a blind statement. So we see not too long after Ula Christopher would have been interrogated and grilled by the Joint Select Committee on National Security, where questions were posed to her with respect to the Beyond the Tape program and the utterances or the alleged utterances of its host, one of Ilwell's co-hosts, Senior Superintendent Roger Alexander. He has now been removed from that program. And so the future of the program is now in limbo, whether or not it's going to continue based on what was the original style, where you would have the heads of various divisions coming on at different times to speak. You all recall the woman, the officer, who said, who wanted to wish, I think, Diwali greetings to the members of the Muslim community, or was it Eid greetings to the members of the Hindu community? I can't remember. Right. And back in those days, when divisional heads used to come and report on what's happening in their divisions, whether it would go back to that or if it is the program would come to an end. But we will discuss that in further detail on Tuesday. In addition to cops have body cam concerns, association, no quick change. We need to discuss that issue because there have been calls for the police to wear body cameras since 2017 when they were first introduced. Yes, by this administration, not that other party that wants to get into office, who have been singing the same song for the longest while. Where the body cameras? What going on with the body cameras? What happened and want to put that on Fitzgerald Hines. But in this article, we see here where the commissioner is indicating that the officers are refusing to wear the body cameras, notwithstanding a directive from the police executive that they do so, because they have concerns. And these concerns are being backed up. These concerns are being supported by their representative union, who is telling us, well, you know, they need training and they need to be educated on the thing. Since 2017, we're in 2024. So 7 years of training and education is not enough for them to have an understanding as to how this thing works. But they're saying here they're concerned about whether or not the data from the cameras could be used in a court of law. Why are you concerned about that? If you are operating above the law, well, not above the law, if you're operating within the remit of the law and you're not doing anything wrong, then camera footage, wherever, it don't matter. There's nothing to be seen on this camera footage that could show you in any wrong stand-up if you're not involved in any wrong stand-up. But the government spend the money. They buy the body cameras. And this is what the minister was saying when he made the point, that it is not his job to fight crime, right? The protection, the actual protection of the citizens is the responsibility of those entities that have been tasked with that responsibility, the police, the army, and whoever else. The government's job is to provide them with all the tools that they need to do the job. And here it is that the government has spent money to buy over 1,000 body cameras. And the officers are saying, we're not wearing it. We're not wearing it. And while members of the public are saying, well, maybe the reason why they're not wearing it is because they know they're involved in wrongdoing, the head of the Police Social and Welfare Division is saying there is no evidence to prove that. There are still questions to be answered in terms of the storage of the information and the ability of the information to withstand judicial scrutiny. We have embarked on training of our officers with the body-worn cameras, and it will become part of our tooling training. It is a work in progress, and whatever reservations we have at this point in time, probably it's only because of the newness of the situation. Since 2017, 7 years, and it's still new. Dixon said in Trinidad and Tobago, oftentimes following others is tried for improvement. However, he said sometimes there is not enough data and support mechanisms in place, but it goes forward. Culture, he said, does not change overnight, and he believes in time, with education and training, there will be more support for the cameras. In time. Mr. Dixon, how much more time you all need? This pilot project was launched in 2017, Mr. Dixon. We are now in 2024, Mr. Dixon. You're coming to tell us now, in time, another 7 years perhaps, Mr. Dixon? Another 10 years? When some of the officers have retired and some may have gone to the great beyond, Mr. Dixon? How much more time you all need? These are the things that result in a lack of confidence in the police service. And this is what the Prime Minister was speaking about when he was talking about public service reform and the limitations, and that the government, notwithstanding the will to make changes, are limited because public servants taking it upon themselves that they're going to disobey. So the government tell them, make sure that you put the decals for every ministry and department on the vehicles, so people are not going to take the government vehicles to go joyriding, to use it as their personal vehicle to go on the beach, to carry the children to school, they're carrying the wife and the outside woman to the market, and all of these different things. Wear and tear the vehicles, they're using the fleet card to put gas, using taxpayers' money to put gas in the vehicles for their own personal use. And we have instructed, make sure there are no vehicles other than unmarked police vehicles. All government vehicles must have the insignia or the decal on it stating which ministry or department it belongs to. So if members of the public see on a Sunday morning a Ministry of Education vehicle park up on the beach, you know they're not working. If on a Sunday morning or on a Saturday evening, you see a Ministry of Finance vehicle park up outside an all-inclusive fete, you know they're not working. They ain't doing government business at 2 o'clock in the morning. They're joyriding with the government's vehicle and using state resources and taxpayers' money for their own personal benefit. And the members of the public could report them. What the Prime Minister said, Madam Speaker, you would not believe the pushback that the cabinet got. They refused to carry out that order, hoping that an election would be called. The government that issued that edict would be voted out of office. And when the new government comes in, because that wasn't their instructions, it now falls by the wayside and we could continue to abuse state resources. So even the cabinet giving instructions matters not. They're not even listening to that. So what the Prime Minister is supposed to do? Take a belt and go in the ministries and start to beat people from aside and force them to do it? So where it is the commissioner is now saying we may have to implement certain disciplinary action for officers who refuse to wear the body cameras. We have the head of the Police Welfare Association saying the big stick approach can't work. You can't force the officers to do it. Why Garrido talk about that? Tell us what efforts you make, because since 2017, this pilot project started before you became commissioner. For the 3 years that you were there, what did you do to ensure that the officers wear the body cam? Maybe if they were wearing the body cameras as was required, we could have seen exactly what happened to Mr. Belcon and the other guy who were, to Morris and Belcon, the two fellas who were fingered for the Andrea Barrett kidnapping and murder. Maybe we could have seen how the man ended up in the hospital, what led to him falling off of the chair, and what led to him sustaining the kind of injuries that was reported in the second autopsy that was done on his body. Maybe the body cameras could have shown us that, Mr. Griffin. But what did you do? You didn't want your special unit to be wearing the cameras, right? Because they were operating above the law. Yeah, they were doing their work. Nothing to see here. But you want to call the Prime Minister a liar when the other day he mentioned that and say, you told the nation that a man fell off the chair in the hospital and he died. That's a lie. And I never said, but yesterday they never told us how he sustained the injuries, which resulted in at least one senior officer from that unit being charged. At least one senior officer. You say matter being investigated and you'll come back and tell us. Did you ever tell us, Mr. Griffith? So come and talk about that. Tell us what you did. Because the UNC now come asking what's going on with the body cameras and what's going on with pepper spray. But people have requested and have gotten licenses for pepper spray. But they're so damn dishonest. They love to file for freedom of information requests for everything else. Why they don't serve a freedom of information request on the police service to ask how many pepper spray licenses have been issued? You know what? Because they don't want those statistics. Because when they get these statistics, they cannot come now and lie and say, oh, they're talking about pepper spray and after all, nobody ain't getting no license and all of that, but it is there. And in the absence of that, and in the face of them doing this, the government officials who have responsibility for national security, you all need to provide these statistics, including the Commissioner of Police. So in the same way she could have said last week that she gave out 100 FULs in the last year, tell us how many pepper spray licenses you have given out in the last year, madam. So that we can be armed with this information. So when that party, that brotherhood of wrongdoers who want to get back into office come and spread the propaganda and they know the waterfront ilk will take it and run with it, notwithstanding any evidence to the contrary. Those of us, the right-thinking citizens, we are armed with the information. So when they come on the platform and lie, like when they claim and lie and say a few months ago that the Prime Minister and that Rowley and them increased the price of flour by 33%, and just 1 week later, the price of flour fell by 15% and they had no answer to it, we know they're talking rubbish. As Dr. Rowley said, rubbish. And we could tell them, go from here with that. Go so. We're not interested in all the propaganda. Move from here. When they want to come on Facebook and say, what did PNM do in the last 8 years? Name 2 things that the Prime Minister do. And name 3 things that the government do. And as soon as you give them 15 things and 20 things that the government do, they want to tell you about Rowley is a rapist and he's a pedophile and how he raped some girl when he was a school teacher. They could never accept the truth. You're asking for it, and when you get it, rest on your chest. You want to pivot and talk about something else because they can't handle the truth. Cognitive dissonance, all of them suffering from that. A basket of deplorables. I said it. I said what I said. And who vexed, that's all your business. But yet still, they continue to join the page. Every day you see and so following you. Anyway, let me not go there. Let me not go there. Right? But beware. Beware. You see, Prime Minister come out now when he talk and he tell them, look, this is what is. Anybody contradicted? All of them who was talking on the other side of the crevice about Dragon gas for the last few days. The Prime Minister has come out now and he has clarified. Where them? Where Jayanti? She put out big post on her Facebook page to talk about Dragon gas dead before Dragon dead before whatever. You see she come back and say anything about it? Where Kamala? She said anything about it? Where is Munilal? Where is David Lee? All of you all who had plenty to say about a week ago that based on this latest development, the Dragon dead. Where are you all now? You get pep. No response to Dr. Rowley. No response to Stuart Young. Huh? But you all know you already sow your seeds of lies outside there for your minions to run with it. Right now, NIF number 2 is available for persons to invest in. And quite likely, investing in NIF number 2, you may not get what you're looking for. In other words, it is likely to be oversubscribed like NIF number 1. Because based on the returns of NIF number 1, which has paid over $1.8 billion, I believe, since 2018 in dividends. When NIF number 1 came out, do you all remember what Prasad Bisasa said? Don't invest all your money in that. It's a Ponzi scheme and you will lose your money. And plenty who listened to her, who didn't invest in NIF, lost out on the opportunity to partake of this $1.8+ billion. And I think this month, in fact, at the end of this month, to the middle of the end of this month, another dividend payment will be made, right? Because February and August. So all who laughing all the way to the bank, when they check their bank account at the end of the month and they see, look, my dividends come in, boy, what are going to do with that? All who listened to Prasad Bisesa when she told them that is a Ponzi scheme. Do invest your money in that. Right? You all lost out. But NIF number 2 is out now. But as I said, because of the amount of money of people who will be running it down, chances are you may not be able to invest as much as you would like. You hear she come out and say anything about NIF number 2? You hear her telling anybody that NIF number 2 is a Ponzi scheme? If you say number 1 was a Ponzi scheme, why are you not warning people about NIF number 2? Why? But your supporters believed you. And it's a Ponzi scheme. Don't invest all your money in that. So all who took her advice, yeah, well, you're scratching all your head now, eh? Yeah, but I really did listen to the lady. Well, you know, she probably invested in it. She probably going to collect a dividend check at the end of the month. And you there like a fool, still collecting 0.5% with your money sitting down on some bank account. Yeah? And whatever little interest you get for the month, the bank taking it back in service fees. Meanwhile, they who were telling you is a Ponzi scheme probably went and invested their money, even if they didn't invest it in their names, because they don't want to highlight the hypocrisy now. So they put it in the name of their grandchild or their son or whoever it is. But they getting dividends every 6 months. And you there like a fool took the advice and getting sold. Nothing. Well, listen to her, right? Take the advice that she gave from NIF number 1, because she seems now she has nothing to say about NIF number 2. So all those of you who took her advice for NIF number 1, please take the same advice for NIF number 2. Apply the same. So more of us who decided not to take her advice, there's more for us to invest and more bonds for us to buy. So please, only take that advice and step aside. Yeah? But for the right thinking citizens, those of you who have a little something to invest, please take the opportunity. You're going to thank yourself for it in about 6 months. You wouldn't benefit, right? But in the next 6 months, when the first dividend is paid, you'll be thanking yourself. Okay, and at the end of the thing, you're still going to get back all the money that you invested and all the interest that you would have earned. So if you're looking for 4.5% on your money, that's the way to go. Right? But if you want to buy into the narrative as a Ponzi scheme, stay with the bank. Put it on a certificate of deposit where you're going to get 0.75%, less than 1%, or even in some of the mutual funds. Now, I'm not telling you to invest in mutual funds, but I'm saying if you want to move some of your money out of mutual funds and you're looking for proper investment that will pay you 4.5% for the next few years, consider it. All right? Take it from me. I put it on my professional hat. But I don't apply to those of you anyway. I see Republic Bank has announced that in the first quarter, recorded profits, $503 million. First quarter, an improvement over the corresponding period for the previous fiscal. In an economy that's suffering, in an economy that is on the brink, in an economy where everybody lost their work and businesses closing up, Republic Bank is recording profits well beyond what they ever recorded between 2010 to 2015, when supposedly the economy was booming, when businesses was booming, and everybody had work. And it had jobs for everybody under Mrs. Prasad Bisesa. Republic wasn't declaring those kind of profits. But today, consistently, higher profits than they ever recorded when she was Prime Minister. But the economy in a mess and the economy in shambles. And you have those who supporting and parroting that dotish narrative. Right? Last week, RBC declared $1.075 or so billion. Again, in a struggling economy, an economy that is on the brink of collapse, you have these banking institutions recording those types of profits. But these clowns still talking about how the economy is suffering and people suffering and the economy in shambles and all of that, and wrongly destroy the economy. Well, if that is the type of performance, even Prestige Holdings and all of these persons, all of these entities that recorded supernormal profit are telling us, if that is how a suffering economy performs, if that is the type of performance that you could achieve in an economy that is flat, an economy that is suffering, that is on the brink and about to fall off the cliff, well, then keep it so. Dr. Rowley, as Mano does say, mash the X and swing corners and forget about them. And as he said on Friday, that would be his legacy, right? Dragon gas, booming economy, and if he decides to pack up his Jahaji bundle and ride out next year, at least he knows he would be leaving a strong economy contrary to what they want to be saying. Oh, as I said, I've gone over my time, but We're going to talk about EMBD and that court case involving Munilal and them. So he was on the press conference this morning. So I will listen to it and hear what it is he has to say. Let me see if he addresses that issue. Right? But they ain't talking about that, eh? No. Captain Clueless and Professor Misinformation ain't going to talk about that. They have nothing to say about it. No, but only thing about Rowley and Rowley and Rowley. Look, miss me with that. Let me see if I could take a few calls. I could probably give you all 15 minutes. So let's see what I take here. So keep it short and brief this morning, folks, so as many people can get in the interest of time. So, hold one second there, gentlemen. I think it's Johnny. Hello? Yes.
You hear me?
Yes, Jen, go ahead.
Yeah. I need to be careful as people of African descent, also as a society, Trinidad and Tobago, when we start to be afraid to speak out on issues. Angel Ishmael, whatever victory thought he got in the court before Justice Francis Prasad, is not an indication that African people can say nothing about Indian people. So this fear that they want us to feel, because I'm seeing them all over social media, all over the world now, it's Indian time now, they can't say nothing, we could take all to court. All they need to understand the judgment. Once is the truth, we will continue to speak with anybody in this country, whether Indian, African, Chinese, whatever it is. And if it's a lie, all they could do, all they have to do in terms of court and whatever. But once the evidence is there, we produce the evidence because it's written in black and white. It's not we to take to court. Take to court the people who put those things in black and white. So I just want to say again, this country is in a situation where we need race relations talk immediately. Otherwise, things will degenerate more. Have a blessed morning and blessed evening, everybody, and be safe.
Thank you, Jen. Well said, as always. Yeah, so we will see how that will progress, because the man said he have 22 pending lawsuits, which he has brought against various entities, and the one he seems to be most focused on right now is his attempt to get rid, well, it's going after the license of 91.9 and certain talk show hosts. 7701763. Let's see. This Ricky Pusin come back on YouTube again. Right. Ruchu says, ask Kamala what happening with the human trafficking in her party. She wouldn't talk about that. Right, so let me see here. Ricky says, Dominic, you're fighting hard for the PNM, but the same PNM did not vote for you recently and also blows for the PNM in 2025. No 2 Tobago seats for the PNM to start with. So who the 2 Tobago seats going to, Ricky? They're going to align with the UNC. You listen to Tobago Chalky song yesterday in the Skinner Park. You hear the blows that Kamala got from Mr. Shaq. Anyway, so look at this. Hello, good afternoon.
Yeah, hello.
Yes. Yes, caller.
I want Ishmael. It's a free dollar. He have all these people and the judges and everything. And so he can do. He want to shut up you.
Yes.
Don't take aside. But then, yeah, they hear what I hope what their life, their life, people and disrespecting people. Right? For all, as he says, right? And yeah, and everybody, when you're ready,
yes,
go and you get judgment. Right? Somebody have a fear.
You too, caller. Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Did I hear you correctly when you said that the issue the officers have concerning the body cam is whether evidence could be used in court?
Yes.
But I don't think that is the remit of the officers. The officers have no concern with that. There are legal people to decide whether the evidence that is taken by the camera, whether it is used in court or not. The officer don't have the prerogative to say, well, listen, we're not using this because it's not going to be used in court. So wait. They're doing the job of the DPP as well?
Yes, because it says here, Dixon is saying the police are yet to be briefed on how the camera footage will be used and whether legislation is put in place for it to be used in the court. So apparently the officers are
that is not their concern.
Yes.
That is not their concern. That is for the legal facility. That's for the DPP to decide on the government to bring to Parliament to pass legislation governing the use of the evidence taken by the camera in the court.
Yes.
The police officer don't have that authority. That's as far as I know, because in my day, you used to arrest, process, and take to court.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, a lot of people have the misconception that when there is an accident, the police officer can tell you who's right or wrong. And that is totally erroneous. He's supposed to take the report and bring it to the magistrate. The magistrate is who makes that decision, not the officer.
Yes.
You understand? That's the reason why a lot of the insurance companies will advise the drivers do not accept liability. So I'm a bit surprised, maybe, but then again, I am a person to say that I'm not a very smart individual, Dominic, so maybe I am the stupid one. But that don't make sense to me. Anyhow, my brother, enjoy the rest of your day.
Yes.
Yes, that's...
Well, it doesn't make sense to me either, but then again, the implication that's being made there is that why are officers concerned about the ability to use footage from the camera in the court? And they are using that as one of the excuses not to wear the cameras. So, pause for concern. Hello, good afternoon. Hello.
Good morning, Dominic. How
yes,
you doing?
Sir. I am good.
Yes, good to hear you. Good to hear you.
Yes.
First of all, I want to say that I, up to this date, and I hope we continue like that, to demonstrate to the UNC that our national carnival festival will not be smothered in any way by the nasty, dirty, unpatriotic comments trying to smother it.
Yes.
I was at the semi-finals yesterday, and it was truly an exciting event with thousands of persons there. And as I said, I've been among the panhoppers from Panten to Panten, and our people are coming out in their thousands.
Excellent.
So I want to say to the UNC, forget it. You know, having crime talks in the middle of all of that to try to promote crime, it's not working. Our people out there, when they push you, they say, sorry, sir. Yeah? And they mash you, they say, okay, no, but one love partner. That's what's going on the ground. You understand? So that we don't have that. We have to teach to that. The other quick thing I want to say is that with respect to the comments made about Justice Prasad, I'm quoting from the Chief Justice of Hong Kong, and I'm quoting from Lord Atkins in respect of justice. I want people to hear this fair comment that we, all of us, are entitled, right? Because the judge is not omnipotent. You understand? Hear what just Lord Atkins says. Justice is not a cloistered virtue. And I want you to listen to this part, my people. Forget the big words. She must be able to face the scrutiny, yes, and outspoken comment of ordinary people. Get it? And that is why we can speak of Frank C. Prasad's comment. And the Chief Justice of Hong Kong went on to say, judges are special, but it does not immune them from criticism. You understand?
Yes.
Those are international views. So we must not be afraid. We must be respectful in what we do. We must not be libelous and so on. But we can criticize the judgment because they are not omnipotent. In fact, the process of law says that. Because that is the reason why you have something called an appeal. Because right now, they have appealed this matter with Ishmael. The matter is appealed. The processes are going to hear that just now. And that means that they are challenging the judgment of the sitting judge, who, by the way, have had several of his findings overturned in the appeal court on the basis of something called judicial activism. Meaning that he has put himself in and quoted things outside of the law. Like in my humble view, when he was saying how much money Coco make in the 4 years, that is not your business, Chief Assad. That has nothing to do with this matter before the court. And that, in my humble opinion, I am not a legal person, but in reading up all those matters, tells me that moves into the area of judicial activism. And when you start to talk about the judges trying to promote him, because I read the judgment, 45 pages as well. And in my ordinary sense, not a legally trained eye, I am of the view that this matter oversteps the law. So my people, do not be cowed, but be respectful, understand, because justice must be faced the scrutiny of ordinary men. That's my Lord Atkins of the Privy Council. So you're not outside of it. And finally, I want to say to Griffith, I have many questions, but today I only ask you two. The last time I asked you one. I want to remind you, Griffith, the former Commissioner of Police, that FER report was a public document published on the 23rd of January 2022 by a reporter called Division. I'm going to ask you 20 questions. Here what that report says. My investigation leaves me with a firm view of a dysfunctional system for processing applications of FUL. The system is replete with opportunities. Hear this guy Griffith, and is a former justice who is now a justice in the Turks and Caicos Islands. A man with a fine reputation. His findings tell us that there were opportunities for illegal, irregular, and corrupt practices in the distribution of FPL. I didn't say so. I'm asking you whether Justice Stanley Johnson, and I'm leaving with this one. The request for various sums of money have been made of applicants by police officers attached to the firearms permit section. I didn't say that. So, Griffith, you have questions to answer. Let me read this one again. This is one of the findings put out by Stanley John. Requests for various sums of money have been made of applicants by police officers attached to the firearms permit section. You ready? After Carnival, I'll come in more. Sorry, Griffith. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, man. How are you?
I am good, man.
Enjoying your program as usual.
Thank you.
From all your contributors. But I don't know what to start. I have to shoot. Well, let me start with what the case like city evening with the fiesta. It was good, but it could have been better. I for one was very unhappy with what time that program started. First they say it was 12 o'clock, then I heard it was 2. It started after 3. Right? So that one problem I had to see. Also the contestants too. I wish Mr. Shaw could have entered in the footsteps. It also seemed to me that the self-government and the majority seem to be shying away. It has been noticed, not trying to get serious from the political commentary. That's what I have been noticing for a while. So I don't know if they are afraid that they might get chastised for offending anybody. But anyway, I'm more or less happy with the Pussy. I Pussy wanted Mr. Shagenda. Secondly, Ishmael and the UNC are just like spoiled children. If they can't get what they want, they will mash it up. Right? So now we want to go after the station house and certain radio program hosts. But I would think better see what will happen. Right? So he thinks over 40 formatted radio stations in this country. Most people don't even listen to that particular station. Or probably not even aware of that station. I want to find out how much of it is in here to listen to that. Listen to the so-called what pure radio station like 5.5 and that other radio station talking about. You figure out how to formatted radio station. Right?
Yes.
So I don't know what's wrong with them. And then with the UNC thing, and I guess the travel and gas, they want to collapse. So I don't remember something. It's any the project they did a strip mash up already now. Remember the rapid deal? Remember the aluminum spelter plan? Remember the mega farm with some you think? Remember too, under the priority, but they must have found out for the store Watson Duke and the PDP and the TPP. And they wanted to go after the volunteers to the people highway. Thank goodness that project was start. Right? And then, concerned with the really, we saw backward. They remind me of the same prison people that who had problems with the Jamal in prison.
Yes.
Why is every good thing that government wants to put up for? We have issues with it. For the benefit of security. Right? And let's think too, though. I don't know if the topic is when you go to the assembly from Washington. You would like to see that the CIA and the FBI when they put this on some internal issues in the country.
Yes.
Did you pick up on?
Yes, I did.
That is something that I noticed that so many commentators are talking about as well.
No, Gary Griffith mentioned it. Gary Griffith mentioned it in a post he puts out on his Facebook page, and he's against it.
Oh, he's against it.
He said they should go to the NYPD and some metropolitan police and something.
Now, why it is the FBI and the CIA have to intervene in internal situation in this country? They don't think that we don't.
As what?
Because the last time I remember, sometimes there was the FBI. We had an out of control kidnapping and show, remember that?
And
I think when the FBI interviewed or something, I think they say, they set up a prison. You know that there was a drop in kidnapping. You know that?
Yes.
So I wonder if people have it together. Right? And I think those same people that we LMPS to protesting against Syria. I don't know what's going on with that. I know they are saying so that the families and them. I don't know. But then again, one of them. So I want to see how this thing will look out. Right?
Yes.
What are we going to do?
You too.
I was not the one fact that thing, but the subcontractors did up. And what makes you WTU is participating in it. Right?
Yes.
I wanted to touch on the one thing, but yet other people will have put as well. Because I feel like I'm well on 7 years and after questioning the $100 million commitment that the authority want to give out to the country. Which is very surprising. I wish that part would have talked about what it's about like postponed the first one to LSO. But now you have $200 million. Anyway, thanks so much.
Thank you, sir. Hello, good afternoon.
Hey, afternoon, bro.
Yes, sir. Greetings.
Yeah, same to you, man. But I was just surprised at the final list, but it is what it is. All the best for them to win O'Connor.
Yes.
And let's hope that we have a show next Sunday.
Yes.
I wanted to assist you with the intervention of the statement made by the Welfare Association, Mr. Dick.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not explained as yet, so you think a way that I think what you should have said is that concern has to view with how the evidence is introduced.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Not with evidence from the cameras. And you know, like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Presently, when the CSI was to court,
right.
Now, all of them have been amalgamated together, right? So a CSI now has also been training fingerprint detection and processing and also photography. So it was different. So it's separate photographers, separate fingerprint technology, but now everything is amalgamated, right?
Right.
The CSI officer does all of that. But when these people go and give evidence and they put them, they have to state their particular
right.
To say I am number one, I am number so and so, Constable Romain or Corporal Romain. I would have a training course over the period so and so time to so and so time. I was trained in the art of photographs on crime scenes and crimes. Right? They start off with that.
Right.
That is their start. That this is in fact an expert.
Okay.
And most expert from the prosecution side. Right? So what Dixon should have explained is that how would the evidence from the cameras in the footage that is?
Right.
Would the individual officer be able to say that you know what I mean? Somebody has, perhaps the people who gather and collate place it on this job to present before the court. They may have to say, and on so and so day, Constable Romain made have footage is what you want used by us for production before there's evidence.
Right.
Right? And that is an easy fix. That is not technical. All I need to is within the law of evidence, I just need to say that there are simple 2 lines, you know. The purposes of evidence from our body worn cameras, police officers who assigned with them a give evidence or some other person who would have put it together on maybe someone was submitted before court. Yes. That is a quick fix.
Right.
So you just have to make it well, members of the public understand. Right? And the other thing our team investigation is something I can tell you, right? You driving your vehicle, breach your red light, and bounce another vehicle, the investigator on that scene has to say that you are wrong. Similarly, if driving your vehicle under the influence of alcohol, and you cross from one lane and hit on the other lane, this could declare you wrong because you're strict liability of. You know, we all stop signs along the road, and the red stop, unless you stop at certain major junctions, right?
Right.
Controlled by traffic light. But if you go over the line and you breach it, that is breach of a stop sign. You'll be wrong. So any investigating that, say that you are wrong.
Right.
Right? Because you will have breached the law as regards to stopping at the stop sign. I wanted to clear that up. In certain instances, it might be more difficult to adjudicate the driver's right to. I'll give you an example. Know when you're coming off the highway and you're merging, let's say you're merging from the lane coming out of pedestrian onto the beacon there.
Right.
Right. The lines there are solid white lines, right? All regulations tell us that you only if you are crossing dotted line, the white solid is not supposed to overtake an up.
Right. Okay.
So there, an officer goes in, and one driver, you say, I was I had right away, and I came across, I had right away when I came across, there's a conflict there.
Right.
So, the issue would demand that you take the statement of the both drivers, as they said, and then you present that to your seniors for them to make decision. Again, it would, on a balance of probability, because both people are saying something.
Right.
At that point, decision has to be made.
Mm-hmm.
The officer reviewing that evidence could either decide to charge both drivers for the traffic regulations, or you might have coded the accident for it to go forward to the authorities, give it a particular code, and that particular coding,
right,
if for negligence. You could code it, you could put drivers with D14 negligence, which means as drivers didn't exercise the necessary care and good diligence by operating a motor. If it goes to court, it's a matter of balance of probability.
Right.
I did several accidents like that where people weren't satisfied, and then they would have gone and take their own civil actions when they weren't satisfied with the compensation received from an insurance company. Right? So I hope I've been kind enough to bring some light into dark areas for people.
Greatly appreciate
and you're good. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Take care, my brother.
Thank you so much. Probably take a couple more. Right? Next time, if you could address this issue for us of persons driving below the speed limit in the extreme right lane that frustrates drivers. Brian. Hello. Brian. Okay. I don't know what's going on there, Brian. Call me back. Because I know there's a bugbear for a lot of people. The law says keep left except on overtaking, but some people figure because they're driving, they're not above 100 in the extreme right lane, that is okay. That's not Brian. Hold one sec for me. Hold one sec. Just switch this out here. Hold on, Brian. Let me just switch devices. Right. Let me get this here. Yes, Brian, go ahead.
Yes, pleasant good afternoon to you, Dominic.
Yes, sir.
Dominic, every time this honorable Prime Minister returns from one of his travels abroad to make representation on behalf, or a sales pitch, as he puts it, on behalf of Trinidad and Tobago. He makes every effort to almost immediately, once it is early, to give an initial report, as far as he can, to the Trinidad and Tobago on his travels abroad. He did so this time.
Yes.
He went into his discourse with respect to every single day, what he did and who he met, almost you could say hour by hour, and who he spoke to and what they spoke about. He spoke about the CID, he met with the CID, he went to the Pentagon, he met with the Deputy Undersecretary of the Defense Staff. He also met with the Vice President and so on and so on and so on.
Yes.
He also went at length to explain the type of license that was given to Trinidad and Tobago by OPAC, which is a subsidiary of the Treasury of the United States of America.
Yes.
Whereby they granted us a special license outside of global license number 44, which will expire on the 18th of April. That does not concern us. He went on to explain that at length when he got back here. Because he said they anticipated, because of the volatility between United States and Venezuela, that he wanted a special type of license that would put him in a position, because the negotiations with Venezuela would, of course, he didn't know how long it would take. And that is why he was back and forth. He and Minister Young, between Venezuela, the United States, Trinidad and Tobago, and so on, to ensure that they got this specific license. As a matter of fact, everything happened so quickly that even Sakuri Driver, who is head of the Energy Chamber, indicated in the last aggressive action headed meeting that they had in January, indicated to the Honorable Prime Minister that he was even surprised that they got through within a year. It took about 10 months, as you alluded to. You understand? And they were very, very pleased indeed that all of these licenses would have been gotten, especially from Venezuela, the 30-year license and so on. One thing is said and now Omar, I'm going to say Omati, but Jayanti Lakshmi Diyal, as well as Wade Mark, made several attempts in the Senate to get the government to explain, hear them to the people, because the people want to know what is the arrangement between the United States, who getting what Venezuela and Trinidad and Tobago were giving them. And the people want to know because they have a right to know. But I want to say we don't have a right to know, because the Honorable Prime Minister went at length as well in a past meeting to explain that these non-disclosure agreements, if exposed, could affect the relationship and the negotiation prospect between Trinidad and Tobago and Venezuela in the future. Because it's not only for the dragon deal. And the information that they are requiring, that they say that the public is interested in, because the taxpayers are interested in, it's not for our heirs. And they know that. But you see, they want to do, Dominic, exactly what this I don't know if he is still at the PRO for the UNC, said as soon as the Prime Minister had finished giving his statement on Friday, he made a live and said that what the Prime Minister reported on Friday was vacuous and superficial. Now, he wasn't there. He never held any office. He never attended no meeting. He doesn't know anything. But he gets up there to say that the meeting, that what the Prime Minister had to say on Friday was vacuous and superficial. And should not be believed. Now, how he could arrive at that? You see, they are just about negativity. And if you continue, if the Prime Minister, in his wisdom, as well as Minister Young, would give these people any more information than they already have, they are a danger to Trinidad and Tobago, because they could disrupt negotiations between Venezuela and other international organizations who may have more money than Trinidad and Tobago and who may be able to get a better deal. We don't know. And therefore, that is why the Honorable Prime Minister is at length, even some of the media people wanted to know certain things, and he said, I cannot give you that information. And it is wrong, and he is correct. They cannot get that in, and the UNC knows the giancy, and they know that. Wade Mark knows that. But they want to impress upon the ordinary person, the ordinary Joe, that listen, that the government is hiding something. The government isn't hiding anything. The government is protecting the interests of the people of Trinidad and Tobago from these rats that have in the opposition, because we know what they do with information, right? They put propaganda on it, they lie about it, and they spread rake. The same thing that the Honorable Prime Minister had to say when he said that there was talk going about that the pipeline was costing $100 million US. Because they're just putting things out there in the atmosphere for people to, and hoping something would stick. You understand? And therefore they want, as they rightly keep saying day after day, they are making every single attempt to scuttle that dragon deal because they know it's a good deal. They know that. And they thought that this government would never be able to, because of the volatility of what's going on in Venezuela. And they even tried to link it with what's happening between Venezuela and Guyana. They want nothing good for this country. And the people of Trinidad and Tobago have to look and read and understand that there are some things that can be said in these type of high-level talk, and there are some things that cannot be said. Even one of these things that when you was asked with that Keishan Hayes asked him, with respect that he had a concern about when they spoke about international crime, and he wanted more details, and he told him, I cannot give you those details. And that's why he went and he spoke to people of the FBI and the CID. You understand? You cannot give out that type of information, because that information getting into the wrong hands can do damage not only to us, but by extension to what the United States and Trinidad and Tobago is attempting to alleviate those issues. Because those issues are about very sensitive nature. And you have people who have criminals who have wide expanse of connections and people. And therefore, it is important that the Honorable Prime Minister did not give out any information. And I want to thank him for that. Secondly, before I go, you said they will talk about the EMBD issue on Tuesday. I look forward to that. I'll tell you why. Because those gentlemen just recently lost an appeal in the High Court, in the appeal court. You understand, where they try to get the honorable judges to say that the information that Justice Abood brought, that there's a case to answer, that they should have no case to answer. No, they do. But I want to tell you this. If it is that they do have a case to answer, and I think they have been told to prepare their with the statement and their defense and so on, and they have I think until the March 20th, I think it is, before it goes to the court where there will be a trial. I want you to find out something for me, because I understand this trial judge that it has to go before is one very well known to all of us. And we know his reputation. Yes? And I want to know, Dominic, please find out from me, because I really, I think Rowley Jr. attempted to explain it to me, but I still don't get it. I'm being brutally frank. How come this judge gets these particular type of matters that has to deal with certain members of parliament and certain political figures and so on his docket? Are there no other puny judges in the courts to deal with these matters? How come just these particular sensitive matters always goes to somebody who, in my view, appears to have a clear bias? I'm not going to say in which direction. Yes? But in my personal view, please find out for me how it is done. Is there somebody who says this and this is your case, that is your case, or is by some selection committee? I don't know. I would really love to know. Because it is clear to me, in some instance, unless I am otherwise educated, that there's something vastly wrong in the judiciary, that only certain judges get certain cases. I thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. All relevant questions indeed. Let's see here. Right, it is 1:09 and I'm well past the time that I had planned to stay on today. So I may be able to take one more quick one. I'll just arrive a little late, but they'll understand. It's a family event, which doesn't happen very often. So I saw someone calling earlier from a 469. And let me see who's this. Just now, see something. Oops. Hello, good afternoon.
Dominic!
Yes, sir. Well, I see you back in Trinidad.
What's going on?
All is good. All is good.
Hey, Dominic.
Yes, sir.
I have a complaint.
And what is that?
Your friend and colleague cut me off twice. Thursday and Friday.
I heard that.
And I don't know why.
I was wondering too. I see like you get man vexed.
No. I heard Mr. Aruka calling people stink mouth. And I say, well, that sound like Mulilal. To make a contribution. As Juliet gave a voice, Juliet say, leave it there, this is you. They say, leave it there, leave it right there now. I cut me off. As I said, well, you know, Mr. Ruka like that. Yes, leave it there, you leave it right there, leave it right. I said, but what is this? I called Friday to ask you, well, what it is I do? As I said, Juliet. Oh. No, what did I do now, boy? Right?
But I see Google cut you off too, so.
I had Dominic. I heard Dr. Rowdy saying, we're back up.
That's correct.
When you know, long I waited to see back.
You better.
Because Dominic, there are things he and Stuart Job did. I ain't tell you yet, you know. No. In time to come, I'm going to tell you.
No problem.
I'll be you there for now.
All right. Let's see. I can take one more. So let me see. Hello, good afternoon.
Afternoon to you, Mr. Romain.
Yes, sir.
Let me say good afternoon to all the listeners and the average tuner service Sunday morning in the afternoon. But you know, I in work, so you know, I'll receive a little call.
Yes.
Right? Like I said, there is nothing new with this individual. I didn't want to call his name because his name is not worth calling in my mouth. He's a disgrace. He's a racial. He is so unprofessional on how he carries his program, his station. Yeah, so look, just someday I look on Facebook there, I saw he tried to denigrate people who come and pay respect to the late Prime Minister funeral, and he started ratting himself. So you see, when you give people this kind of leeway, they feel that they are obligated, right? Say what they want and do as they please. Yeah, then, but I really hope people understand and see and know what is going on. And to all of them who want to preach doom and gloom with this dragon deal, because I had one in the place regarding this false narrative they want to put in the public. But Dominic, there's never a dull moment in Trinidad under the house of the second son. So they try all avenues to make it look as if the government cannot manage the country. But they will get a shocker from the extent what's doing. And I just hope everybody that is focused and let us do what we have to do.
Yes.
UNC nothing, NTA nothing. And ancient Ishmael has something to me with just now. That's my time. So go. We will take 100%. Dominic is not listening.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
I see that the Manning Fete has sold out. Well, so I'm seeing on a page here, Manning Fete for tonight. I'm not sure, but this is what I'm seeing. And tomorrow night is PNM Red Fete. So if you haven't yet gotten your ticket, you know what to do. Do so. Show the UNC how to have a fundraiser. Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, Dom, darling.
Hi.
When Ishmael wore red, you have a problem then?
No.
So is it a rainbow politician? In every color, is he color the palette? The rainbow, a crayon, a rainbow, pentapaint, Burgess Sons?
Yes.
He had gold about top PNM. Had he have his way, you know, he loved them.
Yes.
That thing on two legs? More could be the Confucius. What's wrong with him? We never know it will coming out of its mouth. I don't understand. What is supposed to be an adult?
Mm-hmm.
You have to know seriously, eh? There's no perfect human, eh?
Yes.
But as a human, right? He guarded him, his father gave him. Did the young man parents give his name to? His parents choose a name, but you dismiss that young man's name. I'm gonna have my bacon, ham and pork. E-I-E-I-O. And my pork name is Bamboo. E-I-I-O. Pork, bacon, ham, bamboo. And the other one, this judge is Judge Justice. Watch carefully of all the surnames who he find favor of. Why is that? Is justice yellow? When you're a doctor, you take an oath. So it's same thing, the judge same thing. So I wonder, what's in the water? Orange juice, potato juice, or curry, or cheddar cheese? And I personally find, investigate that. It's not normal. Something is wrong with that on level, eh?
Yes.
And it's a color of mustard. How all those cases with that kind of name go to him? How they happening? Is the color of red? They have to go. It's bribe. They must go. But when it's done, it's justice. Lord have mercy on people like us who are ketchup. They're going for mustard, eh? Because our wrath is grass. Come have a good day, my darling. Be safe. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Hello? Hello?
Dominic?
Yes, sir.
I've been listening to a while in New York. And people call me for short, dumb. I don't really like that.
Oh, Lord.
I better they call your whole name.
All right.
Calling you dumb, I don't like that. And I know my sister listening in New York right now. Since good afternoon. Dominic, you know she's at TNM.
Of course, as she should be.
Hey, Dominic, I will leave it here.
Thank you, sir. Folks, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm well over time, but always a pleasure to be in your company. Yeah, as I always say, to share a few thoughts on what is happening, but there are a lot of things that I couldn't chat about today, but we will do so on Tuesday. God's willing. So remember, we are now into the final stretch to Carnival. So those of you who are so inclined, moderation. So I think PNM, the Manning Fed is today, I'm not too sure. And tomorrow, PNM Red Fed, and they have a whole host of feds leading up to Carnival Monday and Tuesday. So we just take Eric here quickly. Yes, sir.
You know what? I don't call. Right. I probably like that, like you have an issue with that term, or if you have an issue, anybody have an issue. Yeah, some people know what dumb means. Dumb means what Dominic. I leave it there. You're gonna call you dotish. How about that?
Oh Lord.
You understand? Oh gosh, man. A big man of a big tester.
Yes, sir. Yes, folks. So enjoy the rest of your weekend and have a good, make it a productive week. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of other things happening between now and Tuesday. But as I said, plenty to talk about. And as we head up to general election, the meeting that the PNM was supposed to have had, that was postponed. I think, where was it? It was supposed to be in Zambia or something. That was postponed. That's the problem. When these meetings are postponed, we take too long to reschedule. right? So I'm hoping that we could probably get, well, this is Carnival week, so probably not going to have anything this week, but hopefully next week when the dust has cleared, we could get back to these much needed meetings, because one press conference is not enough for the waterfront ilk. The Prime Minister and everybody else needs to keep repeating it for them to understand, right? Separate license for the dragon gas, but the bacchanalists and them don't want to hear that. Just spread propaganda for those who are intellectually lazy and wouldn't take the time to do any research, and like their minds is fine-tuned only to hear propaganda and old talk. So folks, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we will chat again on Tuesday. To all of you on the 143 of you left on Facebook and the 393 of you on YouTube, thank you all so much for making the program the success that it is, and always a pleasure. Yeah, so we'll chat on Tuesday. God's willing.